And for the past 3 months, I've basically been toiling but having so much fun with youth leaders at the Learn to Teach, Teach to Learn program at the South End Technology Center, which is located in the Back Bay of Boston. And so one of the really essential questions that I wanted to explore for beyond Black Lives Matter and towards making liberation was really how do we really situate ourselves so that youth of color can talk about, you know, Ferguson, but then also talk about STEM and talk about identity and talk about, you know, the future, talk about hip hop and use hip hop expression, things of that sort. And so, I want to first acknowledge a few people. There's the HGSE Office of Student Affairs, the Office of the Dean, Dr. Natrice Gaskins, who really helped out the Rainbow Glove group, which you will be introduced to later. Mel King, who is the founder and manager of the South End Technology Center. Dr. Susan Klinzak, the EEC Club over here of Learn to Teach to Learn. Brandon Poosley, it's okay, Brandon Poosley, and then also HGSE Information Technology. We really, truly appreciate your help. And so it began with the dean. So back in around I want to say a few weeks after the non-indictment in Ferguson, the dean, James Ryan, he came up with an initiative to basically situate different organizations so that students and organizations in either Ferguson or Boston can group together and, you know, you get $2,000, almost, you propose a maximum of $2,000 to basically do a program that's centered around identity, whether that's gender, race, or, you know, just all these contingencies that, layers of things that people have to deal with. And when I told people at the time that my initial inspiration was Tef Poe, who is an artist from, hip hop artist from St. Louis, who actually was he's actually still very instrumental in Ferguson. But the dream really was this, to use Harvard money for social good. Because we're situated in this really privileged institution, I'm just going to be real, we need to be able to use finances and things of that sort to basically funnel and channel to communities that, you know, really need the help. And we need to stop having this disconnect between academia and then grassroots organizing. And so I was really passionate about that. And so as part of my, this is like the diagram that I came up with the goal, and you have, you know, all these things that you want the youth to do in this program, and then the outcomes. But really and truthfully, this was mainly the main motivation for me in terms of, like I said, using whatever resources we can to really funnel into these under-resourced communities, but then also these projects that do such good work. And yeah, cash rules everything around me. Cream. And so I want to go into why. So if you've seen the flyers, you've seen that there's all these different layers of like hip hop expression, but then also STEM, youth empowerment, identity, creating future selves. So this is why we can't wait, and why we can't wait is actually a book by Martin Luther King that talks about the urgency of now. And just to give some context to the photos, this photo right here is a very popular, very famous photo from back when Boston was having their busing issues, when they were trying to desegregate the public schools. And then here is Boston after the non-indictment of Darren Wilson. So here's a quote from Tef Poe, and this is going into Ferguson and Black Lives Matter. So the day after Mike Brown's murder, I cried twice. The moment was so overwhelmingly massive, my mind couldn't process all the anguish and anger. My parents and grandparents endured this type of treatment so that we wouldn't have to. And so that's really powerful statement, because he goes on to say, my emotions have grown unstable. I don't feel like my neighborhood is safe anymore because it's militarized. And also, these are things that, again, generations ago had to fight for, and I didn't know that I was going to have to fight for those same things.
Yeah, I went to San Diego.
On STEM. So Mel King, again, is the founder and director of South End Technology Center, which houses Learn to Teach, Teach, Learn. And he says, this quote that Susan gave me about the technologies of the heart. And it says, if we want a society and culture that works for everyone, we need innovation in our relationships along with innovation in the STEM fields and in STEM education. We need to not only say, oh, let's make technology, or oh, let's use technology to solve this type of problem, but we also need to bring in social context and things, because when people step into a space that's technological, they don't leave their identity at the door, and we shouldn't expect them to. But then there's also on future possibilities. So this is basically your ability to see yourself as a productive member of society when it goes down, years down the line. And for people who, who are affected, like us, who are affected by what happens when, our communities are militarized and things of that sort, we don't feel safety, we don't feel like we have any role in the future. And so this was really important to me, because the students, they said themselves, I want to be able to talk about these types of issues because I'm not able to talk about them at my school. I'm not able to talk about them at my house. And so this is a huge pull for me, because it pulls out not only the context of the past, so we not only need to know about the past to basically educate the now, but we need to be able to make sure that we don't make it cyclical, so that we don't repeat those same mistakes in the future. And so to admire in the past is to be able to think and act in the future. Very pivotal when, what was that activity we did? The All Lives Matter, Everybody Matters. Yeah, that was a huge turning point, because we learned, for example, the youth leaders had never heard of school to prison pipeline, something that directly affects them. They had never heard of two-fifths compromise. They had never heard of, these things, these historical things. The only thing that they've been taught about in Boston history is like the Boston Tea Party and the American Revolution. But when it comes to other contexts, they didn't have a past context for that. On hip-hop expressionism. So hip-hop is not only, I guess, what we popularly conceive of as, beats, but it's also about improvisation and being able to be in the moment and then express yourself fully in that moment. And so to, in front of the world, get on a turntable, a microphone, a wall, out on a dance floor, to proclaim your self-worth when the world says you are nobody. That's what hip-hop expression is all about. It's about not just beatboxing, not just b-boying, or breaking, but being able to let that energy flow out and let all that you have be out on the table. And then on youth visibility, which, I got a little emotional. So the top quote is actually from one of the students here, Tyler. She's over there in the corner. This was after the All Lives Matter fiasco that happened within our group. And it shows that she had a change in thought, that it was not only about being heard, because it's easy to be heard. It's easy for somebody to hear you, because hearing is just a sense. It's not, you don't have to engage it. You don't have to consciously think about what you've heard. It's just, something biological. But once you understand and people act on what they've heard, when older people really see that youth do have voices that need to be heard, that was basically her point. And then Michaela, who wasn't able to make it, she said in her spoken word poem, which she tried out for the first time in her life, but in truth, does it really matter? My truth is that I matter. It's a self-affirmation. It's wanting people to know that I'm here and I should be able to occupy this space. And so I hate Wordles, but it really helped me create this, and it's really gaudy, but it really helped me create, I guess, to try to formulate all these layers of things, to be able to have culturally relevant technologies and having these different layers of things, and talking about technologies of the heart, talking about hip-hop. The Message, which is a very popular hip-hop song, but then also the message that the youth were trying to depict in their activities. And then also talking about, even though we didn't necessarily talk about this explicitly, but Afrofuturism, so knowing that there is a space for people of color in the world. It might not necessarily, now in Afrofuturism sometimes that space was actually outer space, but in terms of just creating this space, so for both Afrofuturism and Makerspace, creating this space at the South End Technology Center that the youth would feel safe and feel comfortable and be able to create technologies, do things that they like to do, but then also express themselves in it. And so I want to give you guys a breakdown. So we're gonna. So this is we're about to start the intro where we introduce each other, and then there's going to be a cipher. And so a cipher is basically a circle where people basically do their activities. We're going to have two circles. So we have the Rainbow Glove group who are going to be up here in their circle. So we're going to divide everyone in half. And then we're going to have the United Voices group. And then at the end, we're going to finalize this with the message. What do we want? What did the youth want to get out of this? Or what did you guys get out of this experience? What types of knowledge did you construct? And so usually when you do programs, you talk about next steps, you talk about future implications. I like Outcast. So for Learn to Teach, Teach to Learn. So we have our workshop at HGSE, but then also the thing about Learn to Teach, Teach to Learn is that not only do they come together throughout the school year to be part of the Electronic Explorers Club, but then they also, and the Fab Lab, the Fab Stewards, the Fab Stewards. But then also in the summer, they actually go out and teach other youth workshops in Boston. And so this is going to be integrated, and we're going to work on how to integrate this so that other people are able to benefit from these lessons.
Yeah, the children who are 8 to 13.
Oh.
700, they will go out and impact this.
It's a lot of kids. Then for HGSE, so this past, I want to say, at the end of last semester, HGSE introduced 8 new courses, and a lot of them dealt with issues of identity and ethnic studies, but none of them dealt with ethnic studies or identity in STEM. And the closest that I could get to it was, I think there's the ethnic studies in public schools course, but I would have to go out of my way to tailor it towards STEM. And so I said, you know what, I don't even care. I'll do it myself. And I will be able to iterate on it quicker, and I will be able to create what I want, to create, and to be able to actually go out into the community instead of being stuck in this like Harvard bubble, which is suffocating sometimes. So I challenge HGSE to have coursework in urban studies and STEM because Columbia has it. I'm sure NYU has it. All these different schools have it, and it doesn't. Harvard has the resources to be able to do this, or at least, I shouldn't have to go to Tufts, for example, right now to have to take a course in teaching robotics to younger kids in urban school systems. I shouldn't have to go out of my way and then not get any credit for it because it's at Tufts. I should be able to, or people in the future should be able to take a course here at HGSE, not have to go to MIT, not have to go to other schools to be able to get the same experiences. And then also it shows students who are in the TIE program or students who are, Technology, Innovation, and Education program for you guys. But students who are in these different programs who want to take these different courses to show that, you don't have to segregate the two. You can put it together and really have this really fulfilling, enriching experience. But then also EDM funding for conferences. So for students who are in the master's degree programs to be able to go to TAPIA and to be able to go to all these different conferences for underrepresented communities or women of color, women, LGBTQ identifying people, to be able to have funding and backing instead of having to fund it themselves. And these are where the networks and connections are made. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to fund these things. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to make these networks. And so now I want to introduce our